I know this is going to offend a lot of people, and I'm going to ask that you listen to my message in its entirety before you pass judgment and before you respond. But I don't care about Macky Sall and I don't care about Sonko. The only thing on my agenda is justice. I am a disruptor of injustice. I don't appreciate it, I don't support it, and I don't value it. It could have been anyone in their places. For me, as a public policy, criminology, and education reform researcher, it's alarming to me that a president will instate a regulation, and I'm talking to you, Macky Sall. Duma la saga, duma la khas. Damay wax ak yow intellectual to intellectual. Yow ak sa jabar da ngeen a jàng, mashallah. Mais fi nga li ngay def en tant que kilifa dëkk fi réew mi toll nii, man sax rus naa pour yow. Xoolaata sa bopp. It's disgusting that you will instate a regulation, and when it no longer benefits you, you will disregard the regulation. Bu nga ne président warul def more than 2 terms. Nga wëbbatiku ne dangeen may ñaan mel ni yaa moom réew bi. Moomoo réew bi ñoo la fi teg te ñoo la fi génne. For you to say you need to be begged. I'm going in and out of English and wolof because I'm speaking to two different sectors right now. For you to say that you need to be begged in order for you to not forcefully take a 3rd term, which is prohibited by law, you are acting as a criminal. Your actions are criminal by definition. You are disregarding the law. For there to be multiple women, when I say multiple, I don't mean 2 or 3. And let me correct that. That's not women, it's young girls. For there to be over 30 young girls sexually exploited by religious figures, and it to be overshadowed by the injustices that happens because of political corruption, I have a problem with that. And it's time to talk. Government officials feel as though they can silence the voices of their citizens, portray them in a negative light to the public or to the diaspora mainstream media, and treat them however they want and dispose of them as if they are garbage. What I can't do is speak on the injustices in America and not speak on the injustices happening in my own home country. It's a shame that we will expose and we will highlight when it's a white versus black matter. But it's even worse when your own kind can treat you like a piece of trash on the street. So it's been past time to talk. It's past the time to talk. Now it's time for action. And I'm calling all of my people in the diaspora. I'm calling all of my people in Senegal. Anyone who has a voice, anyone who has a platform to share what's happening to Senegalese citizens. They are being oppressed by their own government to advance political, corrupt agendas. My only agenda is justice. I'm a disruptor of injustice and bias. I'm not on either side. I'm going to give you an unbiased response because there are ways in which we can all improve. However, Macky Sall, the way you are leading your government is shameful. And you need to get it together. So for the people in the diaspora, sometimes we have a hard time reaching out and voicing our opinions because it also feels like our voices are silenced, right? All of that, you don't live here, you don't understand what's going on. But this is the time for us to speak up for our people in Senegal who we know are at the end of the road. They are reacting because they feel as though they have no other option. Peaceful protests aren't valued. Speaking out and going to television platforms to advocate for justice is not heard. And so people are turning to other forms of advocacy that they feel will at least show them some type of recognition. It's up to us who are in the diaspora to be clear and voice our opinions and also share with our colleagues and peers about what is happening. Senegalese have been protesting in Senegal for some time now. There have been many deaths, but I don't think it's fully understood why they're protesting. There are many reasons why they're protesting. Number one, we have our president who not only says that we need to beg him for him to not take a third term. It's the ultimate sense of hypocrisy that you will see. One of the main reasons why citizens are protesting is because our president, Macky Sall, he may pop up here, has decided that he will be taking a third term. And when the youth mainly protested against that and shared their opposing views and the hypocrisy in his messages, he in return asked us to beg him not to take a third term. This is comparable to, let's say Barack Obama was finished his second term and it's now time for elections and he goes, I don't know what y'all are doing, but I'm taking a third term. I don't care what you say or what the law says. This is what's happening in Senegal right now. Except for the fact that the president who's doing it now is the one that instated the regulation that presidents can only do 2 terms. So he's completely negating his presidential message when he was campaigning and now. Another reason why people are protesting is because there is extreme levels of political corruption that when they are exposed, those actors aren't held accountable. You have government officials. I'm not even going to give them the courtesy to call them government officials. You have thieves posting as government officials being caught with millions and billions of Senegalese money, and no actions are being taken against them. And if an action is being taken against them, it's for show and they're let out few hours later. You have over 30 girls who were sexually violated, young minors, by a religious figure. And what's being circulated on the media is that, oh, he didn't know what he was doing. He didn't mean to do that. But for you to do it over 30 times, that's a choice. Blatant disregard for human rights is my problem. There is a trend that continues to happen whenever a suitable presidential candidate voices his interest in the position. There are charges put on them so that they are not eligible to run. Most recently, there's a man named Ousmane Sonko, and he has been exposing the government officials who have been stealing money and committing corrupt acts for a few years now. The youth have identified him as someone who they want him to run for the presidency. In 2020, I spoke about this. You may remember this video where a young woman named Ajisar, she accused him of rape. Many people said that this was a political scam. They just don't want him to run for president. And a lot of Senegalese believe that. However, it's been 3 years since the allegations. This man has shown up to all his court proceedings. He has been arrested, dragged out of his home, been harassed throughout the media, all while trying to fight for his justice. He has continuously denied these rape allegations. And now, 3 years later, a judge ruled that he is not responsible and that they cannot find him guilty of rape. However, after the verdict, they also added that because he's corrupting youth, that he should be sentenced to 2 years in jail. Where or why he was found guilty of corrupting youth when that wasn't even added to the initial charges, and it was only added after the verdict after the non-guilty verdict of rape, the rape allegations came down, is very suspicious to the Senegalese people. It's suspicious to us. And so now, as we know, this 2-year conviction, if not overturned, will remove him from the presidential candidacy. So it's beginning to be an eruption. On top of the fact that every time there are protests, there's police brutality. And I'm going to say what people aren't, I'm going to say what people may be too scared to say, because I don't care at this point. I'm going to say what you know what we say in America, kitchen table talk? I'm just going to say it, let it out. This is kitchen table talk. What people are saying amongst themselves but afraid to say in public, because in Senegal, when you have a platform or you're a public figure or you speak out against the president or government officials, somehow you are arrested for your opinion. What I will say is that there are various scare tactics used by the government to silence the voices of Senegalese. One of the ones that I find so disgusting is whenever decisions that are made come out to the public that they know will entice a protest, the internet is cut off. Now, if your internet is cut off and you don't have stable Wi-Fi, you have a hard time as a Senegalese citizen communicating with the diaspora on what's happening. On top of the fact, there are many rumors being said that there are gangsters being hired by government officials or police officers to go into the crowd and carry weapons and pose as armed protesters. One thing that I find interesting, if you could see in this video, and I'll pause so you can watch it. These same armed protesters are working with the police officers in this video against unarmed protesters. What you see shared with mainstream media like Fox News and CNN is that Senegalese citizens are armed, and because of this, the police officers have to go in and kill protesters. That's not the reality. The reality of it is that there are armed security guards posing as protesters, working with the police to arrest unarmed protesters. And these have been tactics that have been used throughout this time during this rape allegation case. Anyone who speaks up against this case or speaks up against corruption is put in jail. Those who are in America who do not have papers or who do not have citizenship in America are afraid to speak out against this government because they're afraid to be branded as terrorists and deported back to Senegal just to be placed in jail for speaking out against the president. How many times do you get on social media and see people saying negative things about Trump or negative things about Biden or just sharing their opposing views, but you don't have the Department of Defense or police officers coming to your home arresting you for these choices? And this is why people are saying this is a dictatorship, because as soon as you speak up, you are silenced one way or the other. So what they're doing is setting up your peers as examples to teach you that it's either you shut up and don't ask questions and do it our way, or we're not going to do it at all. And that I will never support. All of these actions just to prevent people from speaking up, you don't scare me. You do not. I'm speaking out today, and forgive me for the rest of this video because I will be going in and out of wolof because I'm speaking to two sectors. I'm speaking to the diaspora, and I'm also speaking to our Senegalese citizens in Senegal living through this corruption each and every day. I want to be clear. I am 100% against violent protesting. I will never support it. I will never endorse it. Mais comprendre na lu tax ngeen koy def. Because they am benn moment bo xamne sa xol da fay fess. You get to a point where you feel like, what else am I supposed to do? Mais dama bëgg ngeen xolaat seen bopp xamne Yàlla ngi seetaan. Te li ñuy def di yàq dëkk bi du sonal kenn kuru ñun. Bu ñu paree ñun ñoo fa war a dëkk. Right? So tata yi ngeen di lakk, bitig yi ngeen di dugg di yàq bitig yi, loolu sonalu kenn. Macky Sall yoonam nekku ci. boole bu fekkee da ngeen a bëgg jot Macky Sall ngeen defee ko neneen mais pour man vraiment du noonu. boo leen demee di yàq tata yi suñu papi yeeg suñu nijaay yi ñooy dawal tata yooyu, suñu yaay yi suñu maam yi suñu tante yi ñooy dem ci bitik yi di jaay. ngeen boo leen fa nekkee di yàq sonalu keneen ku dul ñu bëgg. bu ma leen mënoon ñaan mooy ngeen changer seen xalaat ci manifestation yi. am na neneen noonu lañ ko mën a defee pour mu jot nit ñi, pour mu jot ñi nga xam ne mënal nañ Macky Sall wala gouvernement bi dara. boo leen ko defee nii gouvernement bi li ñuy wan waa Amérique ak waa France ni Sénégalais yi dañoo dof, Sénégalais yi ay bandi lañ, foog ñu rey leen pour ñu xam ne ñun suñu dëkk bi loi moo fiy dox. bu ñu gisee loolu ci télé bi da ngeen di comprendre ne ñii dégguñu olof. bu ñu gisee ngeen di taal dëkk bi wala di taal oto yi di dugg ci boutique yi di yàq boutique yi, yéen seen bopp ngeen di sonal. ndax gouvernement bi bu fa nekkee di wax ni Sénégalais yi ay dof lañ, Sénégalais yi ñu ngi yàq dëkk bi, ñu ngi fii di tiire nit ñi, foog ñu yóbbu police yi pour ñu mën a xam ne loi moo am ci dëkk bi. danga leen di jàppale ci point boobu, ndax da ngay xam ne ñi leen di seetaan dañuy gis vidéo yi, comprendre ñu olof, comprendre ñu français, ñu gis vidéo yi ne ñii ay bandi lañ, ñii lii moo tax police yi di leen def nii, di leen def daaf ndax ay bandi lañ. nit fi nga koy gañee mooy xel, danga koy wan ni maa la ëpp xel. boo leen di def seen manifestation comprendre naa ne seen xol yee fees, mais da ngeen koy def correct mu ànd ak civilisation, nit ñi mën leen dégg, ñu bañ a gis li ngeen di def di yàq. du ñëpp, mais ñu bañ a gis li ngeen di def ne ñi moom jaruma leen di jàppale ndax ñoom ñi ngi yàq dëkk bi, seen police yi li ñuy def baax na si ñoom, ay bandi lañ. da nga bëgg ñu gis leen si vidéo yi xam ne ñii dañoo am xel, dañoo muus, li ñuy wax maa ngi koy dégg, comprendre naa leen. so am na beneen yoon buñ ko mën a defee mais du nii. comprendre naa ni seen xol yee fees, man sax sama xol dafa fees, mais bëgg naa leen jàppale pour ñu tollu benn moment boo xam ne président buy waaj a ñëw dina xam ne ñun Sénégalais yi ñoo yore dëkk bi mais du yow. And so basically what I'm explaining to Senegalese who may not understand English is there are protesters who are looting, and I want you all to understand this from an empathetic point of view. Imagine you are at a point in your justice system where you feel as though the one person who gives you hope is being sentenced for 2 years because of corruption of youth. Basically saying that the youth speaking out against the corrupt acts happening are corrupted by him. You have to understand that there's been 3 years of this one woman saying she's been raped. This young lady was caught on video recording. They were recording a private conversation, and she was not privy to the fact that she was being recorded. And she openly admitted that she is lying and that she is a part of a political scam to take down this man. The mainstream media won't have access to this because the recordings are in wolof. And so you won't understand why Senegalese people are enraged, because there's pieces of the puzzle that you may not know. I want to be clear, I wasn't in the room. However, when I'm looking at the evidence, I don't see a case that shows beyond a reasonable doubt that this act was committed. There are things that I'm not privy to. Based on the information out there and the inconsistent messages and the private conversations that have been leaked, it is a sad day when rape allegations are shared and people are even hesitant to believe. And think of this as a mental health crisis as well. Because when you get to a sense of hopelessness, your point is to react in a way that you think will get a response, and sometimes it's not the response that you're looking for. However, what's happening here is that unarmed protesters, some are protesting the right way, some are protesting a way in which I don't support, but I understand. And what they need is your support. They need you to hold people accountable. If you know someone who can hold these government officials accountable, please include yourself. We're all one human race. And it takes nothing out of you to go out of your way to make sure that others are comfortable and others are supported. The level of police brutality happening in Senegal is baffling. It's mind-boggling to me. To the point where people are being slapped just walking around, minding their business. A police officer slapping them. Women are being drugged. Dead bodies are being drugged across the public for people to view. It's an attempt to threaten the public. Unarmed youth are being killed. And you know what the president said? Our president, our lovely president said, I hope an investigation is open. You hope? You hope an investigation is open? You the president, why are you hoping? If you think an injustice occurred and you think that an investigation should happen, why you didn't open the investigation? Or is there something that you don't want the public to know? Are you involved in any way? It's disgusting. The lack of structure in political campaigns in Senegal is a part of why we are where we are. When everybody wanted Ablaye Wade to leave, we were saying, Maki, 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 yes, because he was saying all of the right things for us to get into being a president. And we just put him on a pedestal and asked him to go. And if you're paying attention, the same is happening again. Everybody wants Maki to leave. Now it's Sonko, 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 Sonko. And I don't have a problem with Sonko. But I want you all to stop and think for a second. Let people run a presidential campaign and share with them your needs, your one. Yo, lan nga soxla ñoom ñu defal la ci dëkk bi. Am na ay élèves yoo xam ne jàng nañ amuñu liggéey. Am na lu bari loo xam ne war ngeen ko mën a wax ne lii lañ bëgg nga defal ñu wala doo nekk président. te nekkul ne bëgguñu kii lañuy teg. Def bàyyi leen nit mu def campaign boppam. Mu wax leen agenda bi, mu wax leen plan bi, wax leen li mu bëgg a def ci dëkk bi. Mais nekkul ni bëgguñu kii lañuy teg. Ñu nekkaat fii beneen 8 ans ñu tollaat fi ñu nekk. Ñaanuma ko yàlla. Mais loolu tamit conversation la. Fi mu nekk nii, the priority is, number 1, anyone who is speaking on the president and their family and whoever, any government official that they believe are committing corrupt acts should have the right to speak on it as long as it's done in a professional manner. Maki, they don't owe you respect. They owe you professionalism. You are doing a job we asked you to do. And when you no longer do that job, you gotta go. Nekkuñu fi di la neexal. Neexaluñ la. Defoo li ñu bëgg. Out of here. Mais nga ñëw naan foog ñu def lii, foog ñu def laa, foog ñu ñaan la pour nga bañ ko def. Dangay fontu te di nga génn. I have a call to action for us all. And my call to action is rooted in 3 entities. Accountability for them and yourself. Justice for everyone around you. And strategic thinking. If we can have an organized way to protest, if we can have an organized way to voice our concerns, if we can have an organized way to impeach a president, let's do that. Let's set up checkpoints for ourselves when we want to hold each other accountable. Don't give someone everything, the president, to the point where they feel like we can't take it away. This is a democracy. This is not a dictatorship. We're the boss, not you. Let him know that. Which I think y'all are doing a great job when it comes to speaking out. However, the actions The actions diminish the value of your words. When you're fighting, when you're burning the country, when you're messing with the livelihoods of people, it doesn't resonate to the outside world that these people are in distress, they need help. Ñoom li ñu gis mooy ay savage. Ñoom li ñuy gis mooy ay nit ñoo xam ne they don't know what to do with themselves, so they're being barbaric and they're fighting, and the president needs to do what he needs to do to make sure that the country is safe. Fekk ni yéen da ngeen a sonn, da ngeen a wax ba sonn, te kenn faalewu leen moo tax mu egg ba fii. Mais ñoom gisuñu loolu, te da ngeen di comprendre loolu tamit. My being, my soul, my advocacy is always going to be in women's rights, women's education, anything to advance women. However, done in a way where we can analyze our policies, hold each other accountable, make sure that we are not only speaking up for our rights, but doing it in a way that is beneficial to our growth. I find it shameful that in the midst of protest, we have organizations like these who have shared that they have invited our president to speak as a gender equity specialist. Before we get to gender equity, we have to have human rights that are appreciated, that are valued, that are enhanced. And I would like for him to speak on that and what he's done. From where I'm standing, I see a man who sees his people who are oppressed under his leadership and who runs away every time there's turmoil. That's not a leader. When a leader knows when to listen to his people. A leader knows when it's time to stay and fight with your people. A leader knows how to be self-aware and hold themselves accountable. So when you are inviting these government officials and these presidents of countries and endorsing them in a time where human rights are being violated at the highest levels, what you're showing Senegalese people is that your organization promotes this. Your organization encourages this. And when we go to your comments and go to your DMs and message you about what is happening in Senegal, for you to put up this notice and say, we hear you, we're speaking with our Senegalese officials or Senegalese advocates about this situation, we'll keep you posted. Okay, so basically what you told me is that you read our message. I don't care if you read the message. I want to know what you're doing to act on it. So thank you for noting our concerns. We don't value that notation. What we value is your action. What we value is your stance. If you are for gender equity, you have to be for human rights. And your actions and anyone else's actions that's endorsing these levels of political corruption, you are not for human rights. You are an enemy of human rights. And that's how you will always be viewed. I'm speaking to the youth of Senegal. I'm speaking to anyone who is against political corruption, violence against women, anyone who is against any form of violation of human rights. I want us to stick together. I want us to have a space where we discuss in an organized fashion how we plan to approach this. If you have a meeting scheduled and you would like for me to come and for us to talk amongst each other as human rights advocates, I'd love to come. Please send an email. I'll put it on the screen. Please send an email to me so that I can attend these events. If you have an organized protest that you would like for me to share on my platform, please send that to me. I would love to share it. I want to do my part where I'm at here and making sure that I go to these United Nations events and sharing to them every chance that I can get about the corrupt acts that are happening in Senegal with our government officials. I want to make sure that I can speak to any peer, any colleague, any professor who I know will have an impact on what's happening. But we have to hold each other accountable. We have to make sure that if someone is doing something that is not in the best interest of the public, that we speak on it. And what I also want to say is, Senegal is very strong. Senegal has always held to their core values. And it speaks a very strong message to me when we are at a point of desperation where the values that Senegalese believe in are disregarded in an effort to protest and be heard. These acts of violence, this is not normal to us. It may be normal to the world, but violence in Senegal, it's like a foreign thought to me. I never thought I would see it in this capacity. There are people who are starving and don't have access to the economy or being able to work, that they're taking desperate acts. Women are into prostitution publicly. To the people in the diaspora, I'm not saying that in a judgmental way. I'm saying that in a way that this is something that's foreign to our culture, our core, our being. Women are sacred in Senegal. Women are amongst some of the highest values. And for it to get to a point where that is done publicly, there's a sense of desperation there. Men are traveling on ill-equipped boats through the ocean to try to get to freedom or access to a better economy where they can provide for their family, and dying. And it happens every few years where you'll see a bunch of bodies washed up on the shore, or years later, a boat found, or people protesting against it. This is due to poor leadership and a complete disregard for human rights. So I ask you all to join me and make sure that we are working in a manner that is productive. Let's come up with a strategic plan. Let's have basic core principles for our presidents. Something that I want us to understand is, it should not be that every time a president needs to leave, that there needs to be a protest. Lutag president say su ware supere manifestation wara am. Mom la comprendre. Nobody owns the presidency. You are hired to do a job, just like any other job. When it's time, when it's finished, it's finished. When you are no longer needed, you are no longer needed. But the fact that the people have to protest to get someone out of office each time, there's a crack in our structure. Our foundation is cracked, and we need to fix that. So please reach out to me at paid or on my personal social media. I'll post them after this video. I would love to discuss. If there are any youth leaders who are out there and want to discuss on ways that we can move forward and have a strategic plan, I'd love to be a part of that. But I want us to do that with security. I want us to clearly articulate our wants and needs. And I want us to hold these criminals accountable. Thank you for listening to me. Lima bëgga wax mooy, man comprendre naa if you don't agree. Bu fekkee daa am dara lu ma wax loo xam ne àndoo si, wax ma ko ñu waxtaan. Mais dafay ànd ak respect. Ndax jox naa leen cër boobu. Damay def live pour may leen plateforme boo leen mën a wax génne li nekk seen xol mi. If it's something I say you agree with, let me know. If it's something I say you disagree with, let me know. But the ultimate goal is for us to speak to each other with respect and to have a plan to move forward.